Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
So, you want to be a millionaire, do you? Well, be careful what you ask for.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the Worry-Free Retirement, with your host, retirement specialist and six-time author and fiduciary, Tony Walker.
From 1999 through 2002, one of my favorite game shows of all time aired on TV called Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Hosted by Regis Philbin, the show had a very simple yet very appealing question that has always been on the hearts and minds of Americans. That's right, who wants to be a millionaire? I'd say if we are all brutally honest with one another, the answer is a resounding me. Of course, I would want to be a millionaire. Yet, as easy as it looked for contestants to answer a bunch of multiple choice questions, very few contestants ever became millionaires. Because answering so many questions correctly was difficult to do. Each contestant was given 3 lifelines for assistance. Now, one of these lifelines allowed the contestant to call someone they felt knew the answer to the question better than they did, like this guy. The real question is first, why and how did this idea of having $1 million become such a goal and aspiration in life? And even if you are a millionaire, the second and most important question to ask is this: is achieving millionaire status going to eliminate all of your financial worries in retirement? Well, we're getting ready to find out. Well, welcome, folks, to the Worry-Free Retirement. And yes, I am that little man in the sweater vest, retirement planning specialist and full-time fiduciary, Tony Walker. And before we share with you why having $1 million is not all it's cracked up to be, and all of the worries that come along with having this much money, let me introduce 2 young lads in the Worry-Free Retirement Studios who sure would like to have $1 million right about now. America's favorite financial sidekick, Mr. Aaron Orender, along with Louisville, Kentucky's most laid-back graphics artist, Mr. Derek Hudson. Okay, we started off the show featuring a guy who wanted $1 million so bad that he was willing to walk all the way to Nebraska to get it. And then we quickly segued into a quick hitter featuring one of the most popular game shows of the day that bluntly asked the question, who wants to be a millionaire? And what does a little man in a sweater vest conclude about this topic of millionaires? Well, after meeting in person with over 20,000 savers, personally overseeing more than 5,000 written retirement game plans, as well as I've worked with millionaires and those who don't have $1 million bucks, here goes. You ready? Write this down. I've concluded that while money can certainly make you happier, I can say without a shadow of a doubt, money in and of itself cannot buy happiness. In fact, as we're about to see today, the more money you have, sometimes the more money and worries that it creates. And while having $1 million or more will definitely eliminate certain worries, to the surprise of many millionaires, having $1 million actually creates new worries, which is never discussed by the financial world, as we see in articles like this, touting that in order to be worry-free in retirement, that's right, you got to have $1 gajillion to make it, which, quite frankly, is a shame when you consider the fact that of the more than 3,500 customers we serve at Tony Walker Financial, most, listen closely, most of these 3,500 customers are not millionaires, yet they are worry-free. We have proof of this. So what is the point of today's show, and how will the wisdom I'm about to share affect those who aspire to be millionaires and those who have more money than possibly they know what to do with? Well, stay tuned as I share with you the newfound worries of millionaires, reminding those of you who are not millionaires to be careful what you ask for. I'm Tony Walker with the Worry-Free Retirement. I'll be right back.
Our Tony Walker Financial 5-star review comes to us from Connie. Since our initial meeting with Tony Walker several years ago, we have been nothing but highly pleased. We have our retirement income in a place of growth and safety. The regular checks each month make our retirement truly worry-free. Highly recommend this way to protect your savings. All personnel are professional and highly competent. If you'd like to read more of our 5-star reviews, simply log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com.
Have you recently retired, been laid off, or offered a pension buyout? Has the company you work for moved, been acquired, or closed its doors forever? And finally, do you have a 401k with a previous employer you'd like to move to safer territory? Then take advantage of this opportunity to move your 401k or lump sum pension to Tony Walker Financial. Let's meet in person to discuss your retirement options. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com to schedule your free, no obligation appointment. Let us help you today. According to the 2024 UBS Global Wealth Report, there were nearly 22 million millionaire households in the United States in 2023, which is about one in every American, making the good old US of A the highest number of millionaires in the world, with 38% of the world's millionaires. Pretty impressive indeed.
Hey, what do you want? A medal?
Now, assuming this statistic is accurate, as a planner dealing with 401k plans on a regular basis, I must assume that much of the growth in the number of millionaires can be attributed to those individuals who have heavily invested their 401ks in the stock market. A stock market, as of the date of this recording, that has skyrocketed in value. But what does having $1 million in a risky tax-infested 401k or IRA really mean in terms of helping you worry less about money in retirement? Even if you are a millionaire, are you sure you're going to worry less about money in retirement, or are there new worries that might just creep into the picture? Oh, by the way, of the more than 3,500 customers we serve, less than 5% of our clientele who are enjoying a worry-free retirement are millionaires, which certainly goes against the grain of what the financial world keeps telling savers and how much money you're going to need in retirement. So let's assume you're that person who wants to be a millionaire and have no idea you would have all of these new worries spinning around that you'll have to manage and juggle, kind of like this guy. So what does spinning all these financial plates have to do with the newfound worries facing millionaires? Well, let's look with this powerful graphic constructed by our own Derek Hudson. Wait a minute, Derek, is this the best you can do on that graphic, partner?
Well, I asked AI to make it look like you. Sorry about all the folds.
Okay, our first new worry you'll have when becoming a millionaire. The biggest and costliest worry of them all. Yep, we got to get a drum roll for this one. That's right, increased taxes. Folks, as I always say, the more you make, the more they're going to take. Here is a truism I've discovered, folks. You got to listen closely on this one. More money, in almost all cases, creates more taxes. And the only way to deal with this worry is to meet with a retirement planning firm such as Tony Walker Financial so we can create a plan to deal with what I call your tax tumor. The next worry that comes along with being a millionaire, the idea that now, all of a sudden, you need to explore more investment options such as gold or Bitcoin or different stocks, maybe real estate. In other words, more money sometimes creates this faulty notion that you need more different types of investments, or what the financial world likes to call diversification. Now, what I found is more investments oftentimes creates more work. So be careful adding more of those investments to your asset mix just because your assets are growing. The next worry, forgetting that what got you to millionaire status in the first place, i.e. investing all of your money in mutual funds, for instance, may not be the strategy that will keep you there in retirement, especially when you need to start drawing money out of those tax-infested 401ks and IRAs. And let's face it, what if we had another 2008 and you're needing to draw money? Not good. All right, the next millionaire worry, how your heirs will handle this money when you die. And not only how they're going to handle the money, but possibly how much in the way of taxes they're going to be saddled with. This year alone, at Tony Walker Financial, we have lost 65 clients to death, 55 death claims last year. We meet with the surviving spouses. We meet with the adult children. And all the time, I can tell you this, most of these folks are worried sick on how to handle all of this inherited money, especially if people don't have a game plan. But we can help in that area. And if that's you out there, if maybe you've got money and you don't have a game plan and you're worried about what happens when you die, we can certainly help you. One of the ways people maybe cannot handle money is evidenced by the number of lottery tickets people are buying who are wanting to be millionaires. In fact, they're buying numbers of lottery tickets in record numbers. All folks desperately wanting to become millionaires. Speaking of winning the lottery, in my first book I published some 20 years ago, The WorryFree Retirement, I featured an actual lottery winner who had approached me as to how to invest what little was left of their $2.5 million lottery winnings. The result of winning all this money, it was too late to help them because, quite frankly, all the money they had won was pretty much gone. But what if you are still alive and have this $1 million? Let's keep moving here. Do you keep it? Do you give the money to the kids now? And what if you live long enough with all this money, only see it payable one day to your favorite nursing home? You've got more worries when you have more money. And now, speaking of nursing homes, many people are rushing out and they're purchasing complicated trust agreements, gifting money, and a lot of these folks are not sure exactly what they're doing. But that's the worry of having more and more money. So what about these millions of dollars out there too that the financial world knows that you've got? Where are you going to go for answers and help? Do you answer the call of all those dinner seminar mailers piling into your mailbox? Or do you head over to the local library or university to hear the latest pitch from a financial advisor pretending to be a college professor? All in hopes of, that's right, folks, you turning over your millions to them. Here's another issue with having more money than you know what to do with, especially for Christians who have been taught to be good stewards of their money, whatever that's supposed to mean. And then they create this guilt over having more money than they ever thought possible, a feeling they often get, which brings on more money, a feeling that often brings on what I refer to as the guilt trip gospel. Oh, speaking of guilt trip gospel and being consumed with money, heard a pastor once tell the story of one of his parishioners who wanted to give him his stock, so the pastor accepted it. The pastor went on to say that this stock literally kept him up at night. In other words, he was watching this thing day and night and losing sleep, watching it go up and down. And what did he do? In desperation, he gave the stock right back to the parishioner. Again, sometimes money can rob you of the joy when it's supposed to create all of this freedom to use and enjoy this money the way it's supposed to be used. And maybe that's you right now. Maybe you fall into one of these camps that you're already a millionaire and you're worried about money, or maybe you don't have a lot of money, but you're planning for retirement. Well, either way, folks, we want to see if we can help. And we've made this so easy to do. We call this the 10-minute fiduciary phone call, and it's absolutely free where you and I will talk by phone. And if it merits, if I think I can be of help, we're going to meet in person at either our Bowling Green, Louisville, or Lexington, Kentucky offices. So take advantage of this free offer. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Click on that Let's Get Started button or call us anytime at 877-499-9255. Well, when I return, an interesting What the Bible Has to Say About Money segment. In fact, we're going to have a special guest to share his work in the area of retirement planning and also on the mission fields. I'm Tony Walker. I'll be right back.
Our client spotlight today shines brightly on Simeon and Debbie Ambergy. And Simeon and Debbie, thank you so much for being on the show.
Well, thanks for having us, Tony.
Yeah.
We're so glad to be here.
Well, thank you. We always like to start off. Tell us a little bit about what you did for a living. We'll start with you, Debbie.
I've always worked like in clerical or secretary and that type of work, and I currently still do some of that. So
It's kind of working part-time.
yes,
And Simeon, tell us a little bit about, I know you've kind of had two careers in a way. First, the music career, and then now you're in production. But tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, I've been in music probably most of my life since I was about 5 years old. I started playing in church, and, it sort of found me. I wasn't looking to play the piano, but it was there in the church, and I just kind of walked up to it one day at 5 years old and sat next to the guy, and the rest is history. I traveled with the local groups in the church, and it was like I always knew what I wanted to be when I grew up, and that was a musician because it was in me. And so it just it just was a part of my life. And so for the past 20 years, I was working with Larnell Harris, and he is a 5-time Grammy Award, 11 Dove Award winning gospel artist, just probably one of the best Christian vocalists around. And so when the pandemic hit, it was like that kind of changed things quite a bit because, no travel and different things. And so that transitioned me to seeking more production work, and especially like I started doing a lot of YouTube things, and it really helped me to get into the technical aspects of music production and things. So it's just amazing what's out there. And Debbie, with her clerical background, and she kind of helps keep me in balance.
Most musicians aren't good with money. I guess you know that, don't you?
Well, absolutely, yeah. Don't remind me. I mean, yeah. It's like to say that I'm the kite and Debbie's the string.
Oh, I like that.
And the way that God put us together was just like we're totally opposite. We're totally opposite in everything except for the things that matter the most. And so it just brings that balance. And so we've been blessed to be married. Just celebrated 38 years.
Congratulations. And speaking of the production, we've got your books online. Well, they're my books, I guess, but you were courteous enough to do the voiceovers for them, and you sent a nice invoice. Good job on that. Yeah, I'm sure you took care of that.
Thank you.
And even the Tony Baloney, which this is a great adventure, the DVD and the book, you did all the voiceover on that, but just a great talent and really have enjoyed that. Now, let's kind of keep moving here a little bit.
Sure.
What in the world prompted you to contact Tony Walker Financial? Debbie, do you remember much about that first contact?
Yes. We were just praying about what to do with our finances. And I just kept catching your program on the air, and I was just so impressed about how you use scripture. And I kept telling Simeon about it. That was the first encounter, yeah.
Yeah, because like you said, musicians aren't the best with money. So I started watching too, and it was like, yeah, we need to do that.
And since that time, you've been with us several years now. How would you, Simeon, explain the experience here, and particularly working with the staff and the details that go into your plan?
Well, and Debbie will agree with me. It's just there's peace. There's peace and confidence. So you walk in the door and you just instantly feel a sense of this is where we're supposed to be. And then you even go to the restroom. You've got scripture in the restroom. You've got positive messages and it was like the thing that impressed me, being in the ministry and music ministry and that kind of thing. It's just like the faith aspect of it. So you're grounded in that. And so it's just like that's the foundation that everything else is built on. And so that gave us just confidence and peace, knowing, hey, said, yeah, this is where we're supposed to be.
Any thoughts, Debbie?
Yes, just the confidence and trust and peace. That was the three things that really just stood out when I watched.
Well, we appreciate you all so much and appreciate your business.
Thanks for having us, Tony.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Looking for an advisor you can trust? Schedule your free phone call with Tony at TonyWalkerFinancial.com or call 1-877-499-9255.
Who can you trust? It's one of the most important decisions you'll have to make. Question is, are you ready? Well, we're here to help at Tony Walker Financial. We care more about you than we do your money, and we have over 2,000 happy clients and an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau to prove it. Rolling over a 401k, confused about Social Security, maybe you're afraid of running out of money. Learn how to use and enjoy and protect your hard-earned money. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and let's get started. Well, welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement. I am Tony Walker, and for the Bible segment today, we're going to mix it up a bit. That's right, folks. This is something I've never done before, inviting a guest to be on the Bible segment here at the Worry-Free Retirement. And with us in the studio is our own Craig Davis here at Tony Walker Financial in the Louisville office. So first of all, Craig, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us this morning.
Well, thanks for allowing me to be the first in an opportunity like this. It's exciting.
Yeah, this is many shows, so this is cool. Before we get into the topic and why I have you on this show today, tell us a little bit about your work history prior to joining Tony Walker Financial.
Immediately before joining the team here, I was in the mortgage industry for a few years and enjoyed helping families that way. I also have a history in broadcasting, so I did local radio for a number of years, had a morning show and played pop music over the years.
And you're from Louisville originally, correct?
From Louisville originally, that's right, a Fairdale High School grad.
Oh, wow. Yeah, we back in AAU, we played many games over there at Fairdale High School. I don't know why they held a lot of AAU games back then. But and then you were in Glasgow for a while. When did you move? Remind me when you moved to Louisville and started working here, back to Louisville.
Yeah, I moved back to Louisville at the beginning of 2024. And so been enjoying being back home, closer to family. And
you're doing such a great job at Tony Walker Financial, and you wear many hats here, and we talked about spinning plates. You spin a lot of plates here, but your main role is in the 401k rollover process. So kind of describe that from start to finish when I bring you into a case that we're working on.
Well, you've had an appointment. Someone's decided they're ready to move forward. Many of them have a 401k, and then those funds will need to be brought in. Typically, that's called a rollover, and so I will help those families. Will make a call usually to their custodian, and then sometimes those can be handled in a few minutes. Sometimes they get quite a bit more complicated.
Well, let's go over that because I think some people do get intimidated by the rollover process, and that's why they like us handling them because we do hundreds of these a year. But what can come up? Can you give me an example of issues that we sometimes come into that these 401ks, which should be a pretty easy process, can get in the weeds real quick?
Yeah, sometimes there are just companies that honestly don't seem like they want to give the money back, and so that will just you need something, you need one more thing, you need another thing, and lots of times there's a 10-day wait in between those kinds of phone calls to find out you need one additional document or something. We had a case recently where the gentleman called in, he was ready to move forward, and then they sent a paperwork pack. It was over 35 pages, and so we were able to say, just bring it to us, we'll be happy to help you with that, get it all ready, handle the notaries and all that special part. Other issues we'll see sometimes just things get delayed or miscommunication with the custodian about how long something's going to take, and people get concerned about how quickly these things their funds are not invested while they're being transferred over, and so they want to get moving forward.
And that is something I think people sometimes don't realize. It does take a while to move it over. Then if we put it with Schwab or one of our annuity carriers, that money has to settle. We call that, they got to make sure these checks clear. So it could be a several-week process from start to finish, correct?
Definitely can be, even if you're choosing expedited shipping. So with most rollovers, you can choose to send your paper check through the mail, or you can have it expedited, UPS or FedEx, something like that. Even that way, you have downtime, you have processing time, you have shipping time, and then the check has to get to our office so it can be deposited. And then to settle after that.
Yeah. And again, I remember I was listening in on one of your calls, and it was a large custodian, and the gentleman on the other end was a very nice fella. And we had the client, and you were talking through everything. And the guy kind of stopped. He said, "This isn't the first time you've done this." I think the guy was very impressed on the other carrier that you really knew what you were doing. So we appreciate that and your expertise and just how you handle things. So you're doing a great job.
Well, thanks. I had a call yesterday, actually, where there's a tax document that you have to, it's a disclosure they provide. And the representative was wanting the client to read the entire 15-page document. And I said, I'm pretty sure they only have to acknowledge receipt. And she said, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah, just let them sit there and read it."
If you want to go to sleep, I'm sure if you read that document in its entirety, that would put you to sleep.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get back. People are probably wondering, okay, Tony, why is this gentleman on your Bible segment? And are you all going to talk about the Bible at all? We are kind of and I always kid around. I have a trademark called the America's Money Missionary. I know I even tried to do a reality show in the past called that, but I enjoy speaking to the Bible and sharing my faith, and you do as well. So I asked you about your business experience prior to joining Tony Walker Financial, but you had another vocation that lasted about 12 years or so. Tell us about that.
My family were missionaries, mostly in Southeast Asia. We moved to Southeast Asia when my kids were 10, 7, and 4, I think, and stayed there 12 years till people were in college or just about in college. And so we had a nice time, enjoyed our years there, and feel like we did some good things.
I'm sure you did. I guess the theme of the show is Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? I've got to imagine, though, over in Southeast Asia, is there kind of a have and a have-nots over there? Is there much of a middle class? What is the economy like, and how do people live in those areas?
Certain places, there's a nice middle class, somewhere, say, like Singapore, but other places, Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand, maybe not quite so much of a middle class. We lived in Malaysia most of the time, and so there were plenty of families that worked in schools or banks, but there were also plenty of families that were really on the lower end, say, of the economic ladder.
And you told, it wasn't a funny story, but you told the story that it perplexed you as you would drive through the countryside when you first got there about these houses that were not finished. And in fact, I think you got a verse, Aaron, if you want to throw that up, this verse of Scripture that talks about the Bible saying, you build a house without a plan and you can't finish it. And that was your initial thought. But tell us why sometimes there were unfinished homes over there in those areas.
Now, a family would, when they had money available, a check came in or they had some inheritance or whatever, they would take the cash that they had and they would immediately put that into building materials. Maybe they're buying cinder blocks or concrete to build a home. The reason they did that, because in Malaysia, with a family, you have responsibility. And so if you have funds in the bank and you have a family member that has need, you really have to give that money to the family member. So if they come along, they have school fees or a medical need, then if you have the funds, you need to share them. So they'll tie the money up so that
in a cinder block or whatever,
in concrete or any of those things, so they don't have the money that they have to give to family. Otherwise, they'll never get a home built.
Maybe they need to. Could you airdrop a bunch of Live Well, Die Broke books over there? All right, and finally, I've got to ask you, because I know you're a man of faith, but what is your favorite scripture in the Bible as it pertains to money and wealth and, who wants to be a millionaire?
I do like Matthew 6:21, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also, because I think that we tend to look at that the other way around, that if I love something enough, then I'm going to invest in it, where I think Jesus is saying, if you invest in it, you'll really start to love it. And so if we think about our home being in heaven, we think about the future that we're building into, the kingdom that we're part of as we follow Jesus, then we want to make investment in that. We can direct our heart that way. It's easy to sort of get caught up in trying to be a millionaire or any of these other things that we've been talking about and really lose focus on what's important. And so I like the idea that I can put my funds somewhere, I can invest in, and then my heart's going to follow right along with that.
Oh, I think it's so true. One of my favorite verses as well. So, well, Craig, we're about out of time here, but it's been a pleasure having you sit down and hearing some things I've never heard from you before. First of all, thank you for your service to our clients at Tony Walker Financial. We hear great accolades about you all the time, and of course, your past service in the mission fields. We really appreciate you and all your work.
I'm happy to be here and serve these families. Thanks for the opportunity.
You're welcome. Well, folks, we'll see you next week on the WorryFree Retirement. But you remember, between now and then, if all else fails, you be worry-free and make it a good one.